Hey guys, this is Tony of TL Audio Mixing and Mastering, coming to you with another mix tutorial. In case you haven't done so already, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and this way you'll be kept up to date on future tutorials as they come along. So today, we're going to be talking about how to speed up your mix session. And if you want to speed up your mix session, you need to start prepping your mixes. This means that you need to set up a time slot just dedicated to editing. It should take about 1 to 2 hours to complete, but the payoff is that you will have a mix session free of editing decisions, which should free up your brain to be more creative. So we're going to be working with a track today. It's called Nightmare. It's by a band called the Ricky Fitz. I got this track from Dueling Mixes. Now, in case you guys don't know what Dueling Mixes is, just look at the link that I've got there set up for you to check it out. It's really cool for anybody who's looking to get started on mixing, learn the ins and outs. But the great thing about the site is that they also provide you with multi-tracks. All right, so definitely check them out. It's a really cool track too. So let's just give this track a listen to see what we're working with. Very cool. All right, so let's just dive in. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to your Finder window and you want to turn off your Wi-Fi. All right, turn it off. You don't need it on. You need to be free from distractions. No Facebook, no Twitter, no nothing. All right, you don't want to get any pop-up notifications or anything like that. You just want to be fully focused on editing your track. Think of it as being at work. You're working on either one of your own songs or maybe you're working for a client, but either way, think of it as being on the clock. And also it gives your DAW a little extra CPU, which, you know, why not, right? Then number 2 is you're going to want to listen to the track on repeat, just to get a sense of where the song needs to go. I've already listened to the song a bunch of times from start to finish. And I already know what I want to do with the song. I know that I need to work a little bit on the drums. The vocals are a little bit distorted, so I'm trying to keep them a little further back in the mix. But this is kind of a driving song, and I want to help that along. I want the song to kind of just, you know, just to move. So I got that just from listening to the song a bunch of times. And then the third thing that you want to do is you want to check for phase issues and any digital clipping. All right, so the way that I like to do this, we're going to start with the drums, all right, which is usually where phase issues are going to be happening. So what you want to do, I'm going to hold Shift Option and hit this right here and make these guys all medium. All right, so we're looking at the edited drums here. This is, you know, I've already kind of gone in and done stuff to these drums. I'm going to show you where they were before. All right, so these are the drums here. And something that I noticed when I zoomed in is this. If you look at the kick drum, there is this kind of dip over here. You see this? It's called a negative cycle right there. All right. Now, When that happens to a waveform, essentially your speaker cones are not moving toward you when this hits. They're moving in the opposite direction. They're moving inward. And it's happening on the kick. It's also happening on the snare. All right, see right there? It's going down, it's going down. These are all negative cycles. Also on the overhead is where I noticed it as well, right? See, it's going down. So in order to fix that, what I did was, well, first I had to find these, and I use Option Command brackets a lot just to kind of, change the shape of the waveform. And I like to make them as big as they can go, and that's how I'm able to find that there. So what I did was I took an EQ, and it could be any EQ, but I just used just the EQ3, right? Because the only thing that I want to use is this polarity invert right over here, right? So if I hit this, it's going to essentially flip the waveform upside down. So it's going to make this negative cycle into a positive cycle. It's going to go up, all right? And I did that on each one of the tracks, except that what I did was once I found out that this was happening, I chose each one of the individual tracks, and then I had gone up to Audio Suite and went over to EQ. I hit the polarity invert, and then I just rendered it. All right, because something like that, I mean, you don't want to just have a plugin just kind of sitting there just because you just want to commit. So what I ended up with was that. So now I've got a positive cycle right here, which means that now the speakers are all going to, well, both the speakers are going to hit you at the same time. Everything is going to be pushing air toward you, which will make the song punchier. And this is especially important with songs that start with a kick or drums, because you want that first initial impact to kind of just like really hit you hard. The other thing is you want to look for any time alignment issues. So for example, with the snare, we'll go back to the original. If you look at the snare, one of these is a lot, yeah. See how there's like this difference over here from the start of this waveform to the start of this waveform here. Now if I turn this up here to samples, right, I'm going to get to see roughly about how many samples difference that is. Now originally I was getting something more like 57 or 58, right? Something like that. That's what I was getting. So a really quick way to just nudge this over, you just go over to nudge right up here. You click on the number and you put the number of samples difference between the two waveforms. And then now when I hit the nudge button, which is next to the M, and well, actually it's between the M key and the question mark. So now I can, actually like my nudge is moving by 58 samples. All right. And what I did was I selected the snare and I just brought it back by 58 samples so that it's in line with the other snare. That's kind of it. Let me just bring this right back to where it was, just so we don't make any mistakes later. So I'm going to play the before, and then I'm going to play the after, just so you can hear the difference. All right. Okay, let's just solo these drums. I'm gonna go to the edited version just so I can select the drums here. We're gonna solo, and let's listen. Notice that the snare becomes a little bit snappier. There's a little bit more top end to it. That's what I'm getting. And also the kick is actually punching a little bit harder. So if I just select just this first kick here, It's super subtle, but there's a little bit more of a low end now that everything is hitting the same way. All right, so now for the digital clipping, what I used was iZotope's RX6, but I used a standalone version. I'm going to try to use the in-DAW version right now. Now I'm going to play this for you as it was. All right, this is the declip plugin. All right, which I think if you get RX elements, you should be able to get this. All right, it's a really cool plugin. You do have to pay for it, but it's pretty sweet. All right, so I'm going to just play you the bit of the chorus, which is where the digital clipping was happening, just so that you hear what I'm hearing. Here it is. Oh my little, oh. Listen to my, all right? It's almost like the dynamics are completely cut off, which they are. You can actually see it right there in this section. It's just all flat. Oh my little, oh. All right, and I'm going to zoom in just so you can see what I'm talking about. See that? Flat. Everything's been like just completely shaved off. It's like someone took a lawnmower and just, cut the lawn. All right, so what this plugin essentially does is it kind of adds some of that back. All right, so I was just playing around with it a little while ago. All right, because again, I've never done this within Pro Tools. I usually use a standalone beforehand, and then I fly those tracks into Pro Tools. Again, take care of all the heavy legwork before you start to mix. But this is what the before and after sounds like. So this is here. Let's play this section right here. This is going to be the before and then the after. Oh my little, 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 oh. It just softens it up a little bit. And what you would do with something like this is you would go into Audio Suite and you would just commit this, like you just render it down. And according to iZotope, the more you do it, so like I wouldn't just do this once. I think I actually rendered everything down like maybe twice. So you kind of render as much as you can to get it down a bit, just to get the harshness down a bit. And see, like over here it says like 1,324 clipped intervals repaired. That's a lot of clipping, right? So once you do that, right, you just run it again, and then you eventually fix the digital clipping. It's not ever going to be 100% perfect, but at least it'll be something that you can work with. All right. So just to kind of give you a bit of context here. All right, we're going to listen to the chorus as it is right now versus the chorus as it was before. All right, so let me just quickly, yeah, that's fine. And 11.3, cool. All right, so check this out. My little girl is a wonderful creature. My little world is so happy to meet ya. Oh, I wish I could, but I never will understand. All right, it just sounds better versus what it could have been, which is this right here. My little girl is a wonderful creature. My little world is so happy to meet ya. Oh, I wish I could, but I never will understand. It's just like a little bit harsher on these unedited tracks. So there you go, digital clipping, get rid of it. All right, so after you've done that, you want to route all of your tracks, all right? So routing, the way that I like to look at it is you're essentially building a console, right? This is your console. Imagine this was, I don't know, a Mackie 2408, or this was a Neve 88R or something. Just, you want to kind of route it the same way that it would be routed if it were an actual console. So I've got all of my original tracks, right? These are all the original tracks up to here. And what I created were 5 auxes, just 5 aux tracks that I use as sub channels. So essentially all my drums are coming into this channel here, all my bass, guitars, and so on. I've also got a couple of sends. I've got 2 delays. I've got a quarter delay and an 1/8 delay. Then I also have just, I think this is like a drum verb. Yep. And then this is a regular verb. And then I've got a master, and these are all aux channels. I created all these, all right? So I took all my drums. You just shift click, and you now select all the drums. And then you hit shift option and hit one of the outputs of any one of the selected drums. And I've already created a drum bus here. So I had clicked on drums. So now everything here is going to go into the input of the drums that I created here. All right. So now if I want to listen to just the drums, or actually if I want to change the level of the drums, I can do this. Right? So this gives you the ability to fine tune the track at the end with a bit of automation. So after I've mixed everything, throughout the song, I've moved all the faders around and the pan knobs, I got everything to where I want it to be. Well, maybe for the chorus, right? Maybe I want the drums to just hit a little bit harder. So I can do that because with these auxes, I have volume control. So I could like let's say choose the chorus to the section over here if I wanted to. And then I can, raise the volume of all the drums right there if I wanted to. And I try to save all of my major automation, for this section, if I'm automating a full range of instruments. This also allows less tracks. Sorry, this also allows less plugins to be used that'll affect more tracks. So if I put 5 plugins here, I've got a Slate virtual mix rack here, which I'm going to use eventually. These are all inactive right now. This is just my template. But I could put 5 plugins, and if I tweak them in an intelligent way, instead of just hand fisting, then I'm going to affect the entire drum kit, right? So I can try to find small changes within those plugins that are going to give me the most back, that I'm going to be able to get the biggest payoff from. And in essence, use those plugins here. And then if I've got it to where I want it to be, then I can use even less plugins over here instead of using 5, and just plugins all over the place, because that's just going to crash your computer. And I don't want that. All right. So routing is important. Okay. Create some subtracks. All right. Some sub channels, create your sends, and then create your master, right? Which is where you can put all these plugins over here. Okay. Moving on. So after I've done this, I like to color code the tracks, which clearly you can see that they are all color coded. Everything has its own color. I tend to make my drums red. I make my bass green. I make any kind of weird bleepy noises pink. I like to make my strings and keys brown, guitars are blue, and so on and so forth. My subs are always yellow. The reason why I do this is because it's one less thing to think about when I'm mixing. I can just look at the tracks and I know where everything is. I know that these are all my drums. I know that's my bass. I know that these are my strings or my synths or whatever. I know where everything is. So that's probably one of the most important things about color coding is you're organizing your tracks. And again, this frees up space in your head for mixing. All right. It's just saving you time so you don't have to look for tracks or look through names or any of that. It's just you're going by color. The next thing I do is I group all my tracks. So as a default, you already have all when you first start your mix. This is always going to be there no matter what. All right. So like if you wanted to hit all, you now have grouped all the tracks, and anything you do to the faders is going to affect all the faders. See? Which is cool. If maybe the song is coming in a little too loud on the master fader and you need to bring everything down by a little bit, then that's how you would do that. Let's bring it right back to where it was. But I also like to group all of my like instruments. So all of my drums, right? I had selected all of them and I had hit Command G, and then that allows me to create a group. All right. You could also do it by hitting this arrow here and just hitting new group, but learn your key commands. All right. Though they're very important. So create the group, call it drums. I mean, I'm not going to save this because I've already created one, but all your drums will be right here, right? Currently in group. This is all then grouped together. So now when your group is created, you can click on drums, and now you can just move just the drums. Everything else stays exactly where it is. All right. And this is good for solo purposes. So check this out. Say there's like a section of the song where maybe I want to know what it sounds like to just completely get rid of the drums. So let's go to the bridge over here, or right before the bridge. And I'm going to mute the drums and see what that sounds like. It's just to be able to kind of give you a little bit more freedom to create. All right. You want to be able to hear things right away. Like, okay, what if I take out the guitars in this area? What if I take out the vocals in that area? How's it going to sound? Instead of, click, 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 I just click once. And because they're all grouped together, I'm good to go. The next thing you want to do is you want to duplicate any tracks that you are going to be committing to. All right. If you're going to be using Audio Suite, the same way that I did with the drums up here. So say, for example, there is something happening on one of the tracks, which I just started working on this track. I've only really moved some faders around and did some panning, but like you saw before, there are no plugins. But if there is something that I want to change and commit, then I'm going to just go up to Audio Suite and I'm going to commit it. I'm going to render it down. But before I do that, I'm going to render down the duplicate track. So then this way you're creating kind of a breadcrumb trail for you to follow back to your original tracks. And that's important because then that way you can see if your song is getting better, if it's getting worse, or if for whatever reason something isn't vibing. Then you can just kind of go back and say, okay, let me just start over. I clearly messed something up here, so I'm just going to go back to the original and start from there. So that's pretty important. The next thing I do is strip silence. So if you notice, there's a lot of just, empty space around here, in the drums. Everything's been cut up. All right, so what strip silence does, I mean, it's a great way to make the arrangement of the song clearer, but in a visual way. And it also allows you to move only parts of the original waveform. So this, for example, this crash here, this was originally all one waveform, right? If I go back to crash 1, that's the way I got it originally. But if I use strip silence to get rid of all the dead space, now I can just, move this stuff around if I wanted to, if I wanted to crash there or whatever, right? I don't want it there. I'm going to put it right back. And the way to do that is you would select your track, whatever track that you want to use strip silence on, and you just hit Command U, and it brings up strip silence. Now, I'm not going to go into exactly how to use it, but just play around with it. Like, setting the threshold is going to affect exactly what it's going to recognize as sound, and basically, what is going to be cut. So like, for instance, like if I raise this all the way up, you're going to see that the threshold changes. If I bring it all the way down, see what I'm saying? Like you just kind of have to mess around with it. And if you go into the manual, you'll learn everything you need to know. I didn't use it on the kick. I did use it on everything else. I just want to leave the kick as is because I'm not going to be moving the kick around, especially for a track like this. It's very dancey. And finally, the last thing you want to do is use your comment boxes. That's what these guys are here for. All right. If you are doing this process, you're going through the editing process and just, cutting stuff out and fixing little problems here and there, you might come up with an idea along the way. And maybe you're like, oh, you know what? I totally want to use lo-fi on a distorted bass. And let me not forget that. So let me just write it down. So lo-fi into Sans Amp, let's just say. Cool, whatever. Done. So now that's there and I don't have to think about it anymore. I can move on to the editing and do what I got to do. But if you don't do that, I mean, I can tell you right now that there have been many times where I have been working on a mix and I'm mixing and editing at the same time, which is not the way that I want to work because it's just more of a pain in the butt. But I'll come up with an idea, but because my head is so full of the tasks at hand, I'll forget that idea and then I'll be really upset with myself because it might have been something really cool. Something that maybe I at the spur of the moment just thought of and now it's gone. So use your comment boxes. That's what they're there for. All right. I'm going to get rid of this because I am not going to use a lo-fi to a SansAmp. I'm going to use something else. And that's pretty much it. That is my tutorial. All right. Once you're done, step away from the song before starting your mix. All right. Take a walk or drink some coffee or work out. Just give yourself some space from the track, all right? And then come back and give yourself anywhere from 3 to 5 hours to mix the song. Something I like to do, and I actually got this from Grant Cochran of Dueling Mixes, which is a really good idea. Download a free timer. Something like the Alanoff timer is a really cool little app. It's just a stopwatch. It's a way to time your sessions. So what you can do is you start your session and you start the clock, right? And it starts to count down from 3 hours to 0 or 5 hours to 0 and complete your mix within that time. It's just a really good way to work and a good way to also do this whole editing process. Do the same thing, set it up for 2 hours and give yourself 2 hours to edit. All right. And another thing is definitely allot that time for yourself. Don't say I'm going to sit down and mix for half an hour and then maybe I'll come back to it tomorrow or 3 days from now. Your brain's not going to be where it is today as it's going to be in 3 days, right? You're going to be in a different space then. So try to just give yourself time to mix, all right? Another cool plugin that's kind of like the Alanoff is if you go to just Google search Hoffa. It's H-O-F-A. They make some really cool free plugins. And one of them is a plugin that you actually put into your DAW and it will actually time how long you've taken working on your DAW, or sorry, working on your track. Which is also really nifty. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for everybody who's so far subscribed. If you have not subscribed, hit the button, all right? Subscribe. There's definitely some more stuff coming your way. Leave me a comment, send me a message. You can also like my page on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Tony Long Audio. And send me a message about your mixes. Maybe you need something mastered. That's what I'm here for. All right, guys, take care. Till next time.